I just read in which anthology that it is better to light a candle than curse the darkness, and I really feel that today. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leela and I love to read queer, trans, and feminist literature. It is my birthday week and I have a very fun and sparkly and pink TBR, starting with Isadora Moon Has a Birthday by Harriet Muncaster. I love everything by Harriet Muncaster and I deeply resonate with the Isadora Moon aesthetic. I love the Isadora Moon series. I've been saving this one for my 27th birthday, which I feel is really exactly age appropriate for this story, and I am really excited to read this probably like tomorrow morning while I have my morning coffee. And then also tomorrow, which is my actual birthday, I am planning to start Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. I have been looking forward to this for quite a while. I have been saving it for my birthday because it feels like a delicious slice of cake. Honestly, I don't know much about this other than it's about witches. The author is queer and trans. It's pink. It looks super fun. I am so excited to get into this. I am planning to go to Hive Mind, my favorite place in New York City, the queer and trans bookstore in Bushwick, tomorrow to drink a lavender latte, eat a cookie perhaps, read this, and basically just have the best day ever. And I did also mention to my girlfriend and my mom that I would love to receive a Kobo Libra color for my birthday, and I've received some whispers in my witchy intuition that they may have collaborated to make that wish come true for me, so that will be very fun as well if it does come true, and I will check back in with you with my next update. Hi, it is my birthday. I am feeling a little bit emo. I did start Her Majesty's Royal Coven last night and I actually picked it up like a bit after midnight, and then in the book it was the witching hour and just after midnight for the character too, which felt very synchronous. I'm definitely having fun so far, though I am wondering, like, does this book love the monarchy? Because personally I find that like at odds with my sense of like queer witch politics and liberation for all, but I'm curious to see how that unfolds throughout the entire series. Also, doesn't this Salem Public Library bookmark match in the most perfect way ever? I love that. And then I did start Isadora Moon Has a Birthday this morning and it is so cute. You guys look, there are cherry blossoms in the book and the cherries are starting to blossom here. I love that. I just totally love the aesthetic always. And Isadora got a present that was wrapped like exactly how Alessandra wrapped mine, and then their tablecloth even matched our like new pink gingham bedspread, which was just so aligned. And Alessandra and my mom did in fact collaborate on getting me a Kobo Libra color, and I am so happy about that. I have been really dreaming of having one of these for quite a while. They got me this stylus too so I can annotate. I love that, and I just absolutely love how this syncs to my Libby. Like, for example, I am currently reading Witch Anthology edited by Michelle T, and while I am reading and loving this physical copy, I have been into like e-reading on my phone while I'm like on the subway, or even just like if I'm in bed, and I'm finding it a little easier to like focus and fly through that way. Now I can read on my Kobo. I am really happy about this. Thank you so much, Mom and Alessandra. And Ali did also hint that a pink case for this may be arriving today, so I am very excited about that too. Sorry if you can hear the neighbors' music, by the way. I am about to bike over to Hive Mind, and I might also do some thrifting, and I'm gonna meet up with Ali for dinner. It is a couple days later now, and I do have a lot of books to talk to you about. Okay, so on Monday, after I talked to you, I went to Hive Mind and had a nice coffee and read, and that was so sweet. And I did finish Isadora Moon Has Birthday, and I did love this book. Obsessed with these illustrations. I feel like that is literally me. Also, there was a quiz at the back to find out, are you more fairy or more vampire? And you guys, I am thrilled to report that I am half vampire, half fairy, just like Isadora Moon. And then I stopped by Beacon's Closet. I got this pink satin slip skirt. I love items like this, and I feel like to me this kind of gives siren and seafoam, so I'm hoping to wear this on my Salem siren trip later this month. I'm drinking some raspberry pomegranate tea, very nice. And then I stopped into a bake shop and actually got a lavender tea, which was very lovely. And then I met Alessandra at Yummy Tofu for dinner. I love that restaurant. It is a vegan restaurant in Bushwick. I find it so cozy and comforting, and I love the food, so I highly recommend if you're ever in New York. And then we got home and my kobo case had arrived. And you guys, I am so obsessed with this kobo case. Let's do a reveal. I actually do have my purse here, which I've been using for about 10 years, which my best friend from childhood, Georgia, did thrift for me. Shall we do a little what's in my bag? I've got my AirPods. Cannot live without these. Audiobooks 24/7. Obsessed. My wallet. Isn't she cute? There's my cat and my library cards. Then I have this book sleeve that my mom got me. And then inside this book sleeve, I do have my kobo case. Oh my god, you guys, I am so obsessed with this. Alessandra had this custom designed for me. It has this pentagram and my name in Gothic lettering. She said she went to my Instagram to find my perfect pink hex code. I love this so much. I am so obsessed. I'm obsessed with the kobo. I've had this for 2 days and I have already logged several hours on it. It is so addictive. It is so fun to read on. All my life I was like, I don't know if I would ever have an e-reader. I love physical books. Even once I was famously backpacking in my backpack tour because I was carrying around 8 books, Hermione Granger moment. But then about a year ago, I started to think, oh, it would be nice to have an e-reader that I could read in bed while Alessandra's asleep next to me. Then I got into reading on my phone and I got addicted. And this is so great. I love it. It has this like get to know you quiz. I guess they want to surveil me or just like make better suggestions to me of like stuff I might buy, but I'm down. LOL. Okay, wait, let's see if we can do it together. Okay, so I go and discover and then it says, help us get to know you. Get started. It says, what's the last book you couldn't put down? The last book I literally could not put down was Beth is Dead, a YA mystery thriller retelling of Little Women. I would say that it was liberal feminist. So I loved the feminist moments of like abortion and a little bit of lesbian representation and some awareness of racial justice, but it was also situated in a sort of white girl goes missing, the police are gonna find her type of thing. Beth is Dead. I am obsessed with the cover. What is a great book by my favorite author? I would say, Is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austen. That is so fun. What is your favorite book of all time? This is a complex question, but I'm gonna go with my just like heart, which is telling me Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Waller. There they are. Oh, it glitched. Okay, it has been glitching every time I've done that, but that was fun. Now on to all of the other books that I want to talk about. I am loving Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I did tab the Sylvia Plath reference. I was not expecting this to be contemporary, but it is, and actually I'm into that. And I'm really enjoying like the coven coming together, but as I was getting at, I'm not really feeling the monarchy, the British Empire, empire in general at the moment. And yesterday I was really especially not feeling empire because of the war in Iran. So yesterday I wanted to feel connected to Iran and sort of read as a prayer of love and grief. So I picked up the stationery shop and I read the first chapter, and it does feel like this is going to be beautiful and devastating, and I felt really grateful to connect with it yesterday. Also, my grandma Yvonne loved stationery and passed that love on to me, so this feels very special in that way. And it turns out that this is also kind of set in Massachusetts, and I am on kind of like a Salem themed reading mood right now because I'm going to Salem later this month. And speaking of, yesterday I actually did finish 2 of my witch books on my sort of pre-Salem TBR, Witch, edited by Michelle T. And I loved this book. I rated this book 5 stars. I highly recommend it. And I did feel spiritually comforted by the texts and the witches in this book. I felt really connected and grateful for this story. And I also finished the audiobook of Missing Witches, and I absolutely rated that book 5 stars as well. I super loved it. And I learned that the first known author is a woman from ancient Iraq who is writing about the goddess Inanna. So that was really cool for me to know as a Iraqi descended writer, witch, goddess worshiper. Really, really, really grateful to have learned that from these Montreal witches. And then last night was actually the perfume reading series birthday party. My dear friend Ariel has been putting on the queer reading series Perfume at Metropolitan Bar in Williamsburg for a year now. And so there was like a really special edition of it, and and she launched the zine, which I have a contribution in. And at Perfume last night, Benedict Green, authoress of Hot Girls with Balls, was one of the readers, and I went up and talked to her because I recently read this book. It was on my TBR for my anti-brain rot reading challenge for 2026. I'm doing Jenny of This Story Ain't Over's anti-brain rot reading challenge, and so I made a list of like books that I want to read that fulfill each of the prompts, and this was my pick for a book by a Southeast Asian author. I really enjoyed this book. I really appreciated it. I was actually super depressed one weekend, wanting to actually rot in bed, and this book I feel like is perfect for that, in that it kind of speaks to the brain rotted. A lot of it is told through social media comments and such, and anyway, I found it very addictive and joyful and dopamine giving. And actually, as I was reading it, I was watching the booktuber Sarah Freshly Read Books, and she was talking about Infinite Jest, and I noticed that the original cover for Infinite Jest and the cover of Hot Girls with Balls are visually similar. And I read Michelle Zauner's introduction to the latest edition of Infinite Jest. Michelle Zauner is Japanese Breakfast and the author of Crying in H Mart, which I loved. I found her essay very compelling. But anyway, turns out Infinite Jest is about TV and tennis, and Hot Girls with Balls, I would say, is about social media and volleyball. So I was wondering if Benedict Green had intentionally written Infinite Jest for hot girls of the TikTok generation, and I asked her and she said no, but that I was not the first person to make that connection. So that is really interesting. When I finished this book, I felt sort of a withdrawal from it, and I wanted more lesbian sports literature. That inspired me to put a hold on We Ride Upon Sticks, which I'd heard was witchy queer field hockey, and my hold came in and I got it today, and it turns out that this is set in and around Salem, Massachusetts. And also I started it, and there's a little bit of Quebecois representation. So that is pretty exciting. The author is from Danvers, which is relevant to the historical Salem witch trials, and isn't it fun that there's that map? I'm really down. Then also today and yesterday, I was still feeling my grief about the war in Iran and the general grief that I feel about my loss of connection to my culture, my Iraqi Jewish culture. My grandmother grew up in Iran. I remember my mom interviewed my grandma for a project that she did in university, and my mom like asked my grandma as a sort of like opening question, like, why did your family leave Iran? And the answer is just because of war, trauma, not getting into it. Yeah, war, assimilation, trauma. I feel so much loss, and loss in a way that I don't even know what I've lost, and that in and of itself is a loss. I don't know if other children of immigrant families relate. I know I really related to Kaveh Akbar's description in Martyr of his experience. Anyway, today I wanted to read someone that I felt like just would understand emotionally and politically what I was feeling. So I picked up and actually ended up finishing Dirty River. I actually ended up flying through this on my kobo, and I really loved it and feel really grateful for it. I had started it before. This is also on my anti-brain rot reading list. I had started it, but I had stopped halfway through. I had not realized before picking it up that part of what this memoir speaks about is the author's experience of childhood sexual abuse. And so having not like known that going in, I needed a little bit of a break to like process. But then today it was like the exact right book at the exact right time to pick back up. And it was also set in spring as everything around me in the garden was blooming as I was reading. I really felt friendship and solidarity in this book, and like I was saying, like a political and emotional understanding in terms of a complex immigrant experience. So I really loved it. I'm really grateful for this book. Finally, I also started listening to, and I'm like halfway through now, the audiobook of Looking for a Sign. I had been listening to the audiobook of Bed and Breakup by this author, which my friend Jenny was reading and said was really cute and comforting. I'd been listening to Bed and Breakup and really enjoying and loving it and finding it absolutely perfect to listen to while spring cleaning, but I'm kind of like only letting myself listen to it while I am cleaning or doing home improvement, and today I wasn't. So I picked up another one of her books on audio, Looking for a Sign, and I am loving this book. It is so fun. It is an astrology themed rom-com, and I'd actually seen it on the shelf at the Center for Fiction before and been really drawn to the cover and loved it. It's like a stunning, gorgeous cover that of course I love, but it wasn't the right book at the right time for me then, and it was the exact right book on the exact right day for me today, because not only is this a fun astrology themed lesbian romance in which the protagonist is going on a date with someone from every sun sign, but it is about late 20s existential crisis, Saturn return. And while I'm not yet in my Saturn return, thank goddess, I have been having a lot of existential anxiety about entering my late 20s, with it being my 27th birthday, and the protagonist is an early April Aries. So I was like, thank you, universe, God X bless. So those are all of my reading updates. I am excited to continue Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I will get back to you with my next update. I am 70% of the way through Her Majesty's Royal Coven now. I have been reading on my kobo and I am obsessed. Yesterday, I was just chilling and reading all day. I had a little birthday party on Saturday. I had some friends over for cake and that was really cute. And then yesterday I was just chilling and reading. And my personal goal for the day was to get to 50% of Her Majesty's Royal Coven because I felt like I'd been reading it kind of slow and I wanted to make progress. And it took me all day to get to 50%. I think I was like pretty tired, whatever. I was planning to go to sleep really early, but then I got to the 50% point like right when I was planning to go to sleep and it got crazy, and then I stayed up until 1 a.m. reading. This book is so good. It's the next day. I finished the book last night. Oh my god, this book was so good. 5 stars. Also, that was crazy. That ending was shocking to me. I was not expecting that. I did have a feeling that it might be devastating, but I was not expecting that. That was crazy. Yeah, wow. This book was so good. I loved it. I would describe this book as Harry Potter x Buffy x contemporary millennial culture, of course from a trans feminist perspective, and I'm obsessed with that. I feel like this is the perfect book for me. And this book kept sort of surprising me too, where I would be like, okay, that's cool that there's some anti-racist consciousness. I do long for a bit more anti-colonial consciousness, but then it would be like, oh, it is there. And then similarly, I was like, oh, it's interesting that there doesn't seem to be a trans character in this story, and then it's like, oh, there is. And there's also a TERF character. And I feel like this book was so effective at showing how that trans character's desire in life was just to exist authentically in safety, and the TERF response was rather disproportionate. And there was one line that really struck me. Let me grab my kobo, which by the way you can see your annotations on. It's so nice. These are the lines that I found particularly resonant about trans liberation and TERFism. We are witches, and I'll just redact the name to avoid spoilers. Someone said, with more than a hint of pissed exasperation, and I know a fucking witch hunt when I see one. Scapegoating trans women of all people is the latest in a long line all the way back to Pendle. No one would choose that path unless it was life or death. And then this TERF's life is so fucking cushy that she has all the time in the world to muse on the potential theoretical, philosophical, academical ramifications of trans lives. This trans girl just wants to fucking be Slayman. I would also say that this book feels connected to 3 of my other favorite witchy, fantasy, lesbian, trans books, which are The Sapling Cage by Margaret Killjoy, which is the first in the Daughters of the Empty Throne trilogy, and as yet the only one published by the Feminist Press, which I love. And this one also explores difference of opinion within a witch coven about trans witches joining. And this is a high fantasy novel trilogy. I also felt a lot of connections to The Isle in the Silver Sea by Tasha Story, which is one of my favorite books of all time ever since I read it last month. I fell so in love with this book. This is lesbian fantasy romance about a knight and witch in love, and it is also set in a fantasy England with magic and witchcraft, etc. And I would say that this one is very strong for anti-colonial consciousness. Tasha Story is Indian, and I was also very much reminded of Herculean by Grace Byron, which I continue to be obsessed and in love with in the sort of tone. These both have contemporary settings, and both I feel like relate to demons in a sort of similar way. I am also kind of sad because yesterday I did also find out that the press that I was really hoping would publish my novella said no. So that was pretty sad, but luckily I had leftover birthday cake and this book to read, which really distracted me. And like right when I was going through those feelings, I got to a part that said she was safe, she'd be fine, she was with her coven, and I was just really feeling that. Like I was feeling held by my community and this book, so I was really grateful for that. I also loved it when in the acknowledgements Juno Dawson said, "If this book spoke to you like it did to me, you are my people and I am yours." I really felt that and I was really touched. There was also reference to a pre-30th breakdown and hiding under a duvet for a week, which I felt as well. Oh yeah, I also loved this like series of annotations: Witch Pride, Sad Girl, Mermaid Inn, Gospel of Lilith. Also, I did love how my kobo case and this book cover went together. Obsessed. And then this morning I did immediately pick up We Ride Upon Sticks, and it starts with this field hockey team on a losing streak, which I really resonated with at this moment, and I'm down for like the sort of sports psychology, athletes resilience perspective that I'm hoping this will bring in regard to my writing career. It also like fits perfectly between the first and second books in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven trilogy. I did also finish Looking for a Sign, and I did love it. I did feel that that was like a 5-star within its genre, like perfect lesbian romance book for me. I particularly loved that the ultimate love interest was an Aquarius, so the lovers were an Aries Aquarius couple like me and my girlfriend Alessandra, who's an Aquarius. I thought that this book was really strong for like religious trauma validation. It's set in the South, and there was just some energy of like, we have been through it with the church. Like it's a hard no for me on that from this book, which I feel like if you are a lesbian with religious trauma, you might appreciate. And it really brings a sort of light-hearted witchy vibe of like, we are just having fun with astrology, which like when you need something to like make you feel happy and delighted, I feel like for me this book was like the perfect pink purple sparkly read for that. And I did also finish Bed and Breakup, and it was really cute and comforting, and it did have that happily ever after that I was craving. And I would really recommend this author for lesbian romance books that feel really queer and anti-oppression informed. And so that is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video.